I want to break something down. You guys tell me if you've ever observed this. So I've noticed through random interactions with people that a lot of people have the tendency to intellectualize or psychologize as a form of avoidance. And what I mean is that when these people find themselves in the midst of conflict, they'll try to derail the conversation by pivoting to something that's trivial usually and making that the focal point. So if you used a word they didn't like or you said something in a way they didn't like, they'll focus in on that because it allows them to make themselves a victim rather than having to hear the other person's perspective and having to acknowledge the fact that they aren't in control of the way that the communication is flowing. And I understand it from a human nature standpoint, but it's actually very insufferable behavior, and it's really annoying to see somebody do that, especially when you assume that they're better than that. So a lot of the time when people do this, if they're talking to somebody who is emotionally intelligent or somebody who's actually mature, that person will probably push back to a certain extent. And once they realize that you lack the objectivity to have the conversation or come to a resolution, they may step off. But these people in their delusion will see you being quiet and take that as a victory, because now in their minds, they've convinced themselves that the continuance of this conversation is a battle between you and them. So if you don't say anything, that means that they won. They think that they won a battle that they're the only ones fighting. You may have stepped off because you realize that they're just not mature enough to even resolve the conflict, so you're done. But that's not how they see it, because you're not talking. And I think that people need to stop taking silence as weakness. Just like we shouldn't take kindness for weakness, silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes people are silent because they're sparing you. And I'll speak for myself. If I go quiet, that's exactly why. If you're somebody that I care about, then I might go silent to spare you, because I know that my communication style is very direct and very blunt. And if I know that you're going through things, maybe you're grieving, you're going through transitions, you're coming out of something that was really bad or really hard on you, I don't want to add to that, because I do care about you at the end of the day. But that only goes to a certain point. You know, when I see a person beginning to act haughty around a situation, or they think that I can't level up to them, or they assume that that's what it is, well, you can't communicate. You're not who you say you are. You don't speak as well as you think you do. I absolutely do. But I also care about you. So I'm not going to break you because I know that I would. You know, and I don't think people consider that. You don't understand when somebody's actually trying to protect you because they care about you. But the thing is, like I said, with me, I've always had this tendency to care a little bit too much. I care more about people than they tend to care about me. So that's work that I've had to do on myself. And now it's to the point where if I get silent, I'm most likely going to just walk away. And that's unfortunate, because a lot of people think that they're more evolved than everybody else when they're some of the most broken people out here, and they don't realize it. They need the most help. You know, and please believe that when I'm in those times of silence, I'm thinking about everything that you've ever told me, even if I haven't fully stepped away from you. Everything you've told me about your relationships, your friendships, your family dynamics, the way that you handle things, the current things happening in your life. And unfortunately, that sometimes leads you to see the person the way that the rest of the world sees them. Because a lot of people, especially if they respect you or they hold your intelligence in high regard, or they think that you are emotionally intelligent or very mature, they try to match you. But they can only do it for as long as they can do it, because if it's a mask, they can't keep it up. It's going to slip at some point, and that'll cause you to see them the way the rest of the world sees them, which is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate for them, not so much for the person who is mature, because at the end of the day, you don't need them. They're the ones who rely on you. And that's always been a theme in my life with people, because people do come to me with problems a lot of the time. And it's to the point where they'll talk so much about themselves, and we'll be friends for years. Then they'll realize one day that they actually don't really know me. They don't know much about me because they've dominated the conversation the whole time that we've known each other. And I normally don't mind. As a Scorpio, I don't like sharing too much about myself. But please believe that I'm hearing everything you're saying, and I'm taking it into consideration. And then once that mask slips, I can now see you the way other people see you. So that makes their reactions to certain things that you've told me make sense. And that's unfortunate, because a lot of people are going to have to lose good people, like people who were beneficial to them, people who actually cared about them and had their best interests in mind, because they're too haughty to humble themselves and actually admit that they were wrong. They're too haughty to say, you know what, I was trying to control the dynamic. I was trying to control the way that you showed up in this space, and I apologize for that. They can't do that. So instead, they're willing to just sit around spiraling and crashing out, and they're going to end up losing good people. And that's unfortunate, you know, and that sucks for them. And I wish that those people would really begin to see themselves. But I think that for some of them, it's going to take actually losing everybody in order to get to that point. But have you guys noticed this? I've seen this with multiple people. This isn't just like specific to one person, but I've definitely seen this before. And it always makes me sad for those people, because they feel like the rest of the world is the problem, but usually it's them that's causing the issue, and they just can't see it.